Roboute Guilliman, the Lord Commander of the Imperium, is the Primarch of the 13th Legion of the Legione Astartes, the Ultramarines. Guilliman is well known for his diplomatic and bureaucratic talents, using such skills to unite several planetary systems into a vast empire before his reunion with the Emperor during the Great Crusade. Even during the course of the Horus Heresy, his practical and logic-focused mindset urged the Primarch to make an attempt to preserve as much of his father's Imperium as possible, which he thought lost thanks to the effects of the Ruined Storm. This resulted in the creation of what the Primarch called Imperium Secundus, which saw the Primarch Sanguinius of the Blood Angels as its Emperor Regent, and Lionel Johnson of the Dark Angels as its Lord High Protector. Following the events of the Horus Heresy and the division of the Space Marine legions into smaller chapters, Guilliman would lead a boarding party onto the flagship of the Emperor's Children Traitor Legion during the Battle of Thessala. It was here that Guilliman would be mortally wounded by the demon Primarch Fulgrim, and once Guilliman's body was teleported back to the Ultramarines' flagship, the chapter's apothecaries would place the Primarch within a stasis field. His body would be interred within the Temple of Correction upon the crag, where he would remain for approximately 10,000 years. Guilliman would be restored to life following the destruction of the world of Cadia during the 13th Black Crusade, thanks to the efforts of the Archmagus Dominus Belisarius Cawl and the Xenos faction known as the Inari. Yvraine, the leader of the Inari, would destroy the stasis field's power source, allowing Cawl to envelop Guilliman's body within the arms of his auto-reliquary. After several agonizing minutes, Cawl's machinery would retract itself from the body of the Primarch, revealing Guilliman as not only alive, but fully awakened, armoured and armed, before he would stride into battle against the forces of the traitor legions. But the question is, did this action of restoring the Primarch to life inadvertently transform Guilliman into a Perpetual? Perpetuals are those individuals who are effectively immortal, able to heal from the most severe wounds and even resurrect themselves after dying. Perpetuals, while exceptionally rare, have been shown to materialize through two distinctive methods, one of which is to simply be born as a Perpetual. Such individuals are sometimes known as true Perpetuals, with one of the most notable in this regard being the man known as Alanius Pius. The other way Perpetuals can appear is through artificial means, most typically by resurrecting someone who perished through mystical or technological means. Examples in this regard include John Grammaticus, who was resurrected by the Eldari Autarch Slaudar, and Cyrene Valantian, who was resurrected by the Word-Bearer's Dark Apostle Erebus through the use of an arcane ritual. Yvraine has been shown to be able to use her connection to Iniad, the nascent god of the dead, to restore several thousand Sun Legion Rubric Marines to life, simply to demonstrate just how powerful she was to the sorcerer Azek Araman. These former Rubrici would be slain shortly thereafter by the Incarne, the avatar of Iniad. The 8th edition rulebook states that, in addition to Cawl's technology, Guilliman was restored using Inari magic. Seeing as Guilliman was mortally wounded during his battle with Fulgrim, and was described as appearing pale and frail when he was in stasis, this would suggest that, once the stasis field was deactivated, Guilliman did indeed perish, and through the combined efforts of Cawl and Yvraine would be resurrected. In fact, Yvraine herself seemingly confirms this with the following quote from the book Rise of the Primarch.
His technology would have healed your physical wounds, Roboute, but you and I know that the worst damage has been to your soul. So no, Primarch, it is by the grace of Inead that you stand once more amongst the living. If you wish to remain, however, I would caution you against removing your warplate. Not that you could easily do so.
The novel Dark Imperium also supports the notion that Guilliman had indeed died, or at the very least was scant seconds away from death when the stasis field that would contain him for the next 10,000 years was activated.
His hearts quivered one last time, drawing themselves in for a further beat that would not come. The voices of his sons sounded far away. Darkness enveloped him. His heart relaxed. The flow of blood ceased. He stood upon a precipice. A roaring, terrifying sea of souls haunted by the laughing of mad gods churned all around, red and ugly. "Father!" Guilliman shouted, his voice free from the prison of his flesh. His sons could not hear him now, but he was heard. There was a cold, golden light and an end to the pain. The roaring sea vanished. Sorrow engulfed his soul. Roboute Guilliman was no more. The immensity of the void is impossible to understand, the layered infinities of the Empyrean even more so. Only death can encompass them both.
Despite Yvraine's warning to Guilliman for the Primarch to never remove his armour, Guilliman is shown to remove his armour several times throughout the course of Dark Imperium. This would mean that Guilliman has grown beyond the need to use the integrated life support systems found within the Armour of Fate. Now, this could simply mean that his Primarch physiology could have, in conjunction with the life support systems of his armour, could have healed the wound within his neck and purged the toxins that coated Fulgrim's blades from his bloodstream. But since Guilliman appears to have died and was then resurrected, could his ability to remove his armour be attributed to the possibility that in fact his newfound perpetuality could have aided in his recovery? As mentioned earlier, perpetuals are capable of healing from almost any kind of wound. Vulcan, for example, was able to regenerate his broken and lifeless body after he underwent atmospheric re-entry and crashed into the surface of Macragge. Now, while Guilliman has said to have bled upon multiple battlefields following his resurrection, there so far haven't been any documented occurrences of him suffering wounds that would be deemed impossible to survive. As such, this means that it is difficult to say whether or not Guilliman is indeed a perpetual given the lack of evidence. Now, it is also worth pointing out that, in addition to the life support systems of the Armour of Fate and his enhanced physiology, there is another way that Guilliman could have been healed of his wounds. The Emperor himself could have intervened. Following the Terran Crusade, Guilliman spent several days and nights within the throne room within the Imperial Palace upon Terra, within the presence of his father, the Emperor. As such, it is possible that the Emperor could have used his godlike powers to heal his son's wounds. The novel Deliverance Lost demonstrates the Emperor's curative abilities by healing the Primarch Corvus Corax of his wounds, following the Primarch's return to Terra after the events of the Istvan V drop site massacre.
The Emperor reached out a hand and Corax felt hot fingers upon his brow. Energy flowed through the Primarch, knitting his shattered bones, stemming his pouring blood, healing wounded muscles and organs. The Primarch gasped, filled with love and adoration.
It's also worth noting that the Emperor did not demonstrate these abilities in person, but through a vision with the Master of Mankind using his regent, Malcador the Sigillite, as a conduit for his power, as the Emperor was preoccupied with attempting to harness the rampant energies of the Golden Throne. As such, this could mean that Guilliman's recovery from his injuries is not a result of potential perpetuality at all. Ultimately, unless Guilliman suffers and regenerates from another mortal wound, it seems highly unlikely that he is in fact a perpetual. In addition, the Eldari themselves seem to have a great knowledge about perpetuals in general, even to the point of recognizing the Grey Knight Anvil Thorn as being, in their own words, the last perpetual. So if Guilliman was indeed a perpetual, then surely the Eldari, or at least Yvraine with her connection to the god of the dead, would know. What do you think? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.